Okay, there's lots to talk about a potential fight between Carl Froch and Andre Ward for his second fight. As we know, Carl Froch fought Andre Ward in the final of the Super Six, and Andre Ward won the fight on a points decision. Now, somehow people believe that if the fight happens now in 2015 or 2016, somehow or the other, that Carl Froch stands a better chance of beating Andre Ward now. Okay, Andre Ward hasn't fought for over 2 years. Correct. I understand that. But during those 2 years, Andre Ward has probably kept his body in shape and he hasn't been in any real big fights. He's not fought at all. Now, if you take into consideration, since the Ward fight, which was on the 17th of December 2011, since that fight at the Broadwalk Hall in Atlantic City, then Froch has fought Lucien Bute, Yusuf Mack, Mika Kessler, George Groves once, and then George Groves again. Now, the Lucien Bute fight, Froch dominated, I would say. Mack fight, Froch dominated. Kessler fight, back and forth, but Froch won that unanimous point decision. Groves fight, Froch was dropped in the first round and almost out of it, and came back to stop Groves controversially. The second fight, another back and forth fight until Froch landed the big right hand. The two Groves fights were wars. There's no doubt about it. And the Kessler fight was a war as well. So those three fights were wars. Now take into consideration Carl Froch's career. And apart from the first Ward fight, he fought Glenn Johnson, he fought Arthur Abraham, he fought Kessler, he fought Terrell, he fought Jermaine Taylor. Pascal was a war. You know, you think about all that and the amount of times this guy's been in the gym and he's been training as hard as he has. Carl Froch is the ultimate pro. He's always in the gym, always keeping himself in shape. You know, consummate pro. Can't knock him for that. And fought the best of the best. You can never say that Froch isn't, ever ducked anybody. Okay, people could put the thing about him and DeGale. I think that's more down to money. And who you say the Chavez fight obviously brings in more money. We can understand that. But against Andre Ward, for me, technically, there's not a lot Froch can do in terms of his style because Froch hasn't got an inside game. This is what Andre Ward did the first fight. So Froch thinks, well, okay, if I fight you in the UK and I come charging straight at you and try and knock your block off, I can beat you. What Froch keeps forgetting is that in 2011, you tried to knock his block off and Ward proved he was stronger than you. He got on the inside of you, technically better than you, got on the inside of you, had faster hands than you, better footwork than you. And those things don't go away. The only thing about this fight is that would Ward now need a warm-up fight before he fought Froch? Can he come back after a 2-year layoff and come back and beat Carl Froch? Now, bear in mind, Mayweather had 2 years, how many years out before he fought Marquez, came back and beat Marquez unanimous point decision. So, Ward, has he become a better fighter? We don't know. We know that he's probably been in the gym working out, but what we do know as a fact is that based on the last fight, there wasn't much answers Froch had to Andre Ward technically, and Ward will get on Froch's chest again and work on the inside, and Froch will be bullied on the inside by Ward yet again. I don't believe that Froch can adapt his style this much, and at 37 years old, the amount of wear and tear on his body, I believe that Froch is a man that's very vulnerable now. If you think about the two fights he had against Groves, that would have taken an awful lot out of Carl Froch. How much is left? Even though he knocked out Groves with that great shot at Wembley, it was a fantastic shot, he wouldn't catch Andre Ward like that because Andre Ward's such a better fighter than George Groves, defensively and offensively. So I think this fight happens again. I think that Ward gets on the inside of Froch and all that wear and tear finally catch up with Froch in this fight against Ward. And I believe that Ward can stop Froch because he'll get inside and keep throwing. I don't care how good your chin is. You keep throwing punches and hitting guy on the inside. Eventually, you get stopped. And I think that Too many hard fights for Carl Froch. Now he's thinking of fighting Julio Cesar Chavez. You know, people saying, well, yeah, he beat Chavez. He should beat Chavez, but how much is left in the tank of Carl Froch? You can't keep going back to well over and over and over and over again. And he looks slower now as a fighter. And no, this is not hating on Carl Froch. It's just the fact that you can't keep putting your chin on the line and keep getting whacked over and over and over again. You know, so I would go with late stoppage with Ward or a unanimous point decision again. I don't see the fight being any closer. In fact, I see the fight being wider. Let me know what you guys think of this fight. I'm out.